Well, every night more than 30,000 young people sleep on our streets, and the Oasis is a Salvation Army refuge for homeless youth. It's centred in Sydney and it's the front line of the crisis. It's also the focus of a new documentary which paints a confronting and bleak picture of life on the streets. Take a look.
Australia isn't the lucky country for every kid. I mean, there are just heaps of them out there, you know, living in refuges, on the streets, squats, abandoned buildings, under bridges. I mean, I've worked with these kids for 25 years. The reality is they're pretty damaged. These kids exist in the community. The challenge is, what are we going to do about it?
Well, I got kicked out home when I was 12. My brother gave me my first shot. And then I started hanging around with some pretty heavy people. I could have said no, you know what I mean? But I chose to do what they were doing just so I could fit in. And then, yeah, up me life, you know, whatever, rah, rah.
My dream is to be married, have kids, live in my own house. I want to study nursing, so I want to be a nurse when I'm older.
So I'm trying to look for Hayley because I understand, well, I know she's living in Hyde Park at the moment and she's not doing well, unfortunately, and I think her drug habit is increasing and really trying to see if I can connect with her to get her into detox. I haven't seen her for months.
Well, the reality is you're not going to be alive if you keep using. I want to see you alive, Daz. I don't care how you look. I don't care how you look. I know
you couldn't continue in this work if every kid you invested your time in and poured yourself into ended up in jail or, you know, you never saw a glimmer of hope, you never saw change taking place. But that's not the reality of our work, you know. You've got to be realistic in your goals. I mean, sometimes the kid's about to fall over the cliff and you know that all you're doing is you're just holding on to them and you're preventing them from falling to a death from a heroin overdose or a long-term jail sentence or becoming, you know, this horrible criminal. And there's always someone who's grabbing hold of the future and saying, OK, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to go for it.
Coming home one afternoon, you know, and finding out that your mother had packed up all her stuff and left you and your brother in a house alone. Where am I? Like, what have I got to look forward to?
He's been on ice for a couple of days and we've done our best to calm him down and to try and get him to help, but he just won't have a bar of it.
I'm really proud to be in it, you know. You know, I've cut down on my drug usage and everything like that, like, yeah, so I've been doing really well.
That's confronting stuff. Joining me now is the protector and mentor of those kids, Captain Paul Moulds, and documentary maker Ian Darling. Good morning to you both. Thanks for being here.
Morning, Georgie.
If I could start with you, Ian, what motivated you to make this film? Because it's very confronting, quite uncomfortable material, isn't it?
It is. It's real and it is confronting. I guess the first motivation was meeting Paul about 10 years ago one Christmas, and I saw the amazing work that he and the Salvos and his wife Robin Moulds were doing. And over that period, I guess I saw that I too didn't think it was a real problem, but it's far greater than the community thinks. And over that time when I sort of hung out around with Paul, I actually realised that it wasn't just in Sydney, it was right round Australia. And I'm part of a foundation, the Caledonia Foundation, and we were getting applications everywhere from youth homeless organisations saying we need some help. And I guess that was the motivation, that we needed to create a documentary that would put the face of youth homelessness on the agenda, but then we've also backed it up. We've commissioned a report into youth homelessness that would provide the facts and figures and actually give the community some solutions, because I think the community needs to feel that something can happen. So we created this combined initiative, and hopefully it will put youth homelessness back on the agenda.
As Ian said, Paul, he's given, I guess, the homeless youth a voice and a face. How important was that, do you think?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. I think, I mean, I've worked for years in this field.
25 years.
Yeah, and 20 years ago when Burdekin came out with his amazing report, and there was another documentary called Nobody's Children that had a profound effect, and I think all of us who worked in the field had great hope that at last we're going to get on top of this issue. At last government would commit to helping us, you know, resolve it. But it's been off the agenda for a long time, and, you know, we need someone to help us represent this issue, and I think both the report and the documentary will do that brilliantly.
Well, you're at the coalface, and you've seen this for 25 years, very closely. Where are we going wrong? Where are the problems lying, do you think?
Well, if you want to know why we've got this problem, I mean, the report that's going to come out is going to go into great detail, and it does start with relationship breakdown in the home, and we've got to address that. But where we've gone wrong is we've failed to resource the people. There's some fantastic agencies, some fantastic organisations at the coalface, but we struggle to have the resources to cope with the demand. And I think that's what Australia needs to know, is that if we would commit, if we would put the resources in, we can save these kids. Many of them can be saved.
I think in the documentary you give a figure. You say is it $70,000 to incarcerate a youth? And yet when you think about what that money could do at the grassroots,
absolutely,
it must be frustrating.
It's frustrating to know that if we could just do more, we could see these kids resolve their issues. I mean, they are complex issues, but what I hope the documentary shows is also the hope that with the resource and with the care and with someone sticking with you, that things can improve.
We got a slight insight there into the stories of Hayley and Darren. Bring us up to date. How are they going?
Well, it's the documentary stopped, the journey continues. In Darren's case, fantastic. He was actually at the launch the other night when we had a pre-screening of the documentary. He's in his own accommodation, he's doing volunteer work now. Hard to believe that that young person that you saw, that you will see in the documentary, so hopeless and so acting out, has been able to make it. With Hayley, the journey continues. She's actually relocated now. Many young people who are homeless are very transient, and she's now in Victoria. But we've been able to make contact with her. In fact, we were down there just last week and we're able to make contact with her again. And so we're still continuing to try and reach out to her.
Ian, over the past decade, maybe even 2 decades, Australia's experienced great economic prosperity, yet we still have this dire situation. What does that say to you about Australia as a nation, and what hope have we got, perhaps with the economy looking like it's going to turn down?
Yeah, well, hopefully there's still enough in the system, and there's enough in everyone's pockets to actually realise that we are still all incredibly lucky in comparison to this forgotten group of young Australians. But you're right, over 20 years we've had this economic prosperity and the numbers have doubled. And I think as a community we just need to get it back on the agenda. But I think we've made it very easy for the state governments and the federal government to actually keep it down the agenda because they haven't been made to bring it up. It's a difficult issue. It's uncomfortable. People won't like having it in their living room, and it's on the ABC at 8:30 on Thursday, and it's going to be confronting. And it's going to all the schools. We're sending it to all the schools throughout Australia, and again the teachers are saying this actually will be good. And I think if the next generation can help keep it on the agenda, but I think the mood's right. I feel that maybe with this and with the report and with homelessness being put on the agenda in Canberra, that maybe collectively the government and the community will actually ensure that something happens.
Do you feel that optimism, Paul? Because there must be days where you feel like giving up, surely.
Oh, no, I never really feel like giving up. I mean, my attitude to this work is you go in every day expecting that this day for someone it's going to be their day. It's going to be the day they make a good decision. And as long as we've got the resources to create a pathway for them. I mean, when you've lived this life, schooling often hasn't been present, mental health issues can be there, drug and alcohol issues. We just need more than beds. We need the resources to wrap around these kids, and then anything is possible.
Well, we thank you for your tireless work and for motivating the rest of us to do something, and thank you for the documentary, Ian, because it really has brought it to the forefront.
Well, thank you for your support. It's great that today's taking up this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you both.